It's Friday, March 13, Friday the 13th, huh? Yeah, but don't worry, apparently Jason Voorhees is self-isolating. Welcome back to all FOXY Games UK new and existing subscribers. So in terms of game industry events, 2020 is turning out to be a major bust. Back in 2019, a lot of us were expecting incredible things this year, and that could still very well happen, even if presented in a slightly different format. Live streaming, it seems, is the way to go for most companies looking to either debut or showcase or exhibit new and upcoming software and hardware this year, particularly in light of the dreaded COVID-19 virus, now classified as a pandemic by who? Only the World Health Organization. Stay safe out there, won't you? Though the show must go on, so in today's video, it's become quite apparent to many that the highly anticipated next-gen PlayStation PS5 and its specs have seemingly changed a multitude of times over the course of its long research and development process. Not only because there have been some real stinkers parading around the internet as so-called leaks, but Sony/AMD have tinkered and tinkered with PS5's APU, allowing Sony to beef up the PS5 spec, which I assume, given the limited information out there, likely began life as a 9 T-flop system. Well, since then, it's become obvious that Sony Interactive Entertainment has increased power and performance well beyond that 9 T-flop number. Some of you may recall back in either late 2018 or early 2019, I really cannot remember precisely, so much has happened since then. However, I had published a few videos some time ago informing my delightful subscribers that I was told by a legit source, an actual insider, in fact the same individual I had been communicating with since before PS4 Pro, formerly known as PS4 Neo, back in 2016. But I digress. The information I received at the time was the internal testing of that particular PS5 dev kit, which was 11.6 T-flops of raw GPU compute power. Now, I was told that this number could change for the retail unit, since that 11.6 T-flops was based on dev kit performance metrics, and that the SoC, that's system on chip, was still being refined even to this day by AMD and Sony. There's absolutely no pinch of salt required, no issue with credibility, certainly no concern on my end whatsoever. Yeah, it's safe to say I trust this individual's information implicitly, which brings us to the present day of March 2020. In an article recently published via WCCFtech.com, PlayStation 5 is said to feature an 11 T-flop GPU with 52 compute units clocked at 1743 MHz. It all stems from a rather cryptic riddle from a verified developer, presumably working with PS5. NeoGAF forums member Odium, who is, as I say, allegedly a verified developer, recently shared a riddle regarding the PS5 spec, posting an image featuring a bird that is communicating with Mark Cerny in some sort of bird tongue. Bird tongue, like chirp chirp tweet tweet. Your guess is as good as mine. Saying this particular bird wasn't a parrot.
PS5, 11 T-flops, it was a pretty boy then.
No, in all seriousness, users on both NeoGAF and Reset Era have tried to solve this little birdie riddle. The amount of coups, which likely stands for compute units, is said to be 52. Now, the message also has a rhyme scheme that matches the MHz, that's megahertz, and it's being suggested that the riddle reveals that the PlayStation 5 GPU will be an 11.6 T-flop GPU with 52 compute units clocked, as I say, at 1743 megahertz. As the Oberon GitHub leak from last year showed 2 gigahertz in testing, it could be that the console's GPU could go even beyond the figures supposedly revealed within the riddle. If the information revealed indeed holds any water in this present day, then it would also fall in place with the information I had relayed to you well over a year ago, and incidentally ties in rather nicely with another insider's information back in January, who said that the 9.2 T-flop figure that was going around was not accurate, something I myself tweeted to my followers at the time. As the reveal is extremely cryptic, we cannot simply take this at face value. Sony will make an official statement sooner rather than later, though it must be said Sony has been suspiciously silent about their console specs so far, but every indication points to more on the matter really being revealed soon, assuming PlayStation 5 releases this year as proposed and is not delayed into 2021. Just last week, a developer working on a PS5 game, the Martha is Dead and Town of Light developer LKA, intimated that the PlayStation 5 will allow developers to portray incredible detailed photorealistic graphics. In case you missed it, here's a quote. And we worked a lot in order to use the highest resolution textures as possible also on PS4. Nonetheless, PS5 will allow us to use an incredible pixel density up to 496 pixels, and that reveals the visuals will be fully detailed also in higher resolutions. It's one of the most important advances in visual capability that we've been waiting for. Now, for those less tech savvy among you, pixel density is a relationship between different textures on different meshes in 3D scenes. A higher density allows for better details in polygonal rendering, such as ripples in cloth that can be rendered in 3D rather than in flat shapes. As already mentioned, this makes a huge difference at high resolutions. Now, developers, I should say, have even gone on record stating that PlayStation 5 specs are again, and I quote, PS5 specifications are incredibly exciting, particularly for us in the additional graphical power and inclusion of ray tracing architecture. Our studio has come a long way over the 4 years, and Martha is Dead will strive for photorealism. We're excited to see the next generation hardware incoming to support us bringing our vision to players. Also super reassuring is the capability of PlayStation 5's SSD implementation, which Sony claim outperforms even high-end gaming PCs when it comes to texture streaming, loading speeds, and more. As expected, PS5's SSD will allow for incredibly high-quality assets to be loaded faster than any hard drive on the market can today. Naturally, high-quality assets are much larger in size, so will undoubtedly benefit from the faster load times afforded by SSD technology. Now, during an interview with IGN, Virtuos Vice President of the Games Division Elijah Freeman said next-gen consoles will allow worlds that are many times bigger than those we've had so far, which is great news, but let's hope they fill these much larger worlds with interesting things to do rather than just padding. Now, the Virtuos VP also highlighted volumetric effects as potential key areas of improvement. In case you missed it, here's a quote. Now, the increased power and speed of consoles like PS5 and Xbox Series X will mean worlds many times bigger than we've seen before, with more stuff in them to do. You'll be able to do much more, move around them much quicker, whether it's driving in high-speed sports cars or flying around on a dragon, perhaps with no loading screens at all. One key area that will almost certainly see improvement is volumetric effects such as smoke, fog, and clouds. These are effects that scatter light and have previously been presented in games with mixed results. Which makes this all interesting is really the effect this might also have on gameplay. Yes, improved smoke effects will be great to look at, but the ability to just barely glimpse at an enemy in the light catches, really if the light catches them right after you've thrown a smoke grenade, or adds a new level of nuance to playstyles. This, people, is awesome stuff. But Bruce Straley, veteran game designer and ex-Naughty Dog, directed hits like Uncharted 2 Among Thieves and The Last of Us, also shared his opinions on how next-gen consoles may be used by developers in their upcoming games. The availability of these tools and this power means there's more opportunities for people to play with styles and concepts and ideas, and hopefully there's more interesting or wacky ideas that become realized, because I was never able to play with ray tracing or some kind of dynamic global illumination. That now opens up a new opportunity to think about game design differently or an experience differently. So in The Last of Us, we had an ambient shadow system which we had to down-res significantly, and it sure would be great if we could do that at a higher resolution and get more fidelity in there. Next-gen hardware makes this much more possible. Isn't that something? Now, in more next-gen related console news, IHS market analyst Piers Harding Rolls believes PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X could beat the launch figures of their respective predecessors, providing pricing does not exceed $499 US, and of course there are no significant shortages. And that's all she wrote, folks. Some pretty remarkable, super interesting stuff to consider here. If you're prepared to put any stock into what the developers actually working on both systems have said about next-gen platforms, as opposed to getting your information from a random bloke on the internet, then both PS5 and Xbox Series X, and indeed the next-gen gaming sphere in general, is looking more and more tantalizing, far more appealing with each passing day. Just remember, there's still plenty of incredible games coming to current-gen platforms this year, all of which will no doubt perform and look far better on next-gen hardware. So what say you? Go ahead, sound off, share your thoughts and opinions on today's news, because that unfortunately brings us to the end of another video, but let's continue the discussion cordially in the comments. And for all your current and next-gen news updates, rumour and rampant speculation, hit the like button, spread the word, and yes, keep it locked to FOXY Games UK. Remember, relevant links where applicable can be found in this video's description. Subscribe to FOXY Games UK, remember to hit the notification bell so you never miss content. Thumbs up if you like it here, and help us reach more like-minded gamers simply by sharing this video. Consider supporting FOXY Games UK via Patreon, and or grab yourself a FOXY Games UK branded t-shirt or hoodie, available in various colours and designs. You'll find both links in this video's description. Truly appreciate the support. But that concludes our time together today. It was certainly great hanging out. Catch me on RGT over on BitCloud Gaming's channel for a podcast later. And until the next video, remember, play games, not corporations.